Hello and welcome to the Believe Crew podcast. The business is you. I'm Jamie White, founder of Believe Crew and your host. Let's jump right in. I am excited to dig in today with Jamar Jones and learn more about the book that he wrote, the company he's running, and really what's happening behind the scenes sometimes, as an entrepreneur, what it's really like, not just what it looks like. So, Jamar, Can you tell us a little bit about who you are, the company that you're running, and some of the story behind it?
Yeah, so I am a founder of Forever Media. I'm also a national speaker and then the author of the book, Change Your Circle, Change Your Life. I tell people I'm just naturally a creator and a connector. That's just, if you had to boil it down into those two words, that's what I do every single day. And really what our company really does is we're a branding and media agency where we connect others to diverse communities in very entertaining and engaging ways. So we do that through podcasting, social media, events, branding, strategic partnerships, all different types of activations, but it's all around how to create something engaging, entertaining, and having that communication really be relatable and something that people can really actually understand and get past kind of the blandness that happens a lot of times with companies. Also, we do a very large event called Lead the Movement Business Conference that we did at the Pfizer Forum in Milwaukee, Wisconsin last year. And this year, 2023, we're going to be doing it on the Summerfest grounds in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. So really looking forward to making that official announcement and getting that out there. It's going to be bigger, better, badder. I mean, everything is, we're amplifying it on all cylinders.
That's absolutely amazing. And I love going back to what you said about being a creator and a connector. And even the way that you said that, like you're stepping into it fully. And I know that most of us are creators and connectors, but we haven't acknowledged it and stepped into it. So major kudos for that. And then in the Summerfest thing, how did you end up deciding that this is for you? This is your calling?
Yeah. Somebody just, asked me that question because I've been doing a lot of just soul searching lately.
Yeah.
I'm very good at just, looking at myself from kind of an outside perspective and just trying to really hone in. And so with the conference, I really wanted to showcase what we were about and create an experience, but also have something that had just a huge community impact that was totally different than a lot of these kind of lower scale events that happen, especially in the Midwest and especially in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's just, we kind of have our staple events and we're really known for our festivals and fairs and stuff like that here. But when it came to business conferences, there's not a lot of big ones that were here. And you had to go to Chicago, go to Vegas, go to Florida, Texas, New York, et cetera, to get that experience. And I wanted to start that here and really breed innovation. So that was really my calling, to showcase like who I was, what we're really capable of, and then just connect with one another in a different and more exciting way.
I love it. And you're right. That explains why I had to leave the state every time I needed to go to a conference. I'm like, I've been to Vegas 10 times. It's not my favorite place. I don't need to be back. But then the next conference is there again.
Yeah. You can't escape it. Once you're there, and Vegas is like the pinnacle. That's like the, that is the city of entertainment. So yeah, the experience and just doing something very innovative. The first time doing it was, last year was a huge challenge because, Milwaukee, they like to hop on when it's going, not when it's just getting started. And
that's a real thing.
I'm trying to change that narrative. And, if people want to see this conference kind of happen every single year, they got to come out, they got to support, the companies need to show up and engage in it. And so, I'll do it once more this year, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So you're taking a risk as a business owner, and you're saying, this has not been done before. This is not proven. Like how often I've heard business consultants say things like, we need to use proven metrics, or we need as visionaries, we're often doing things that haven't been done before and going places people haven't gone before. There's nothing proven about this.
Yeah.
And so the voices that get in our heads in those moments, like how often throughout the year do you have to pick yourself back up again?
All the time. All the time. And I have, certain metrics of a track record, because the reason why I wasn't afraid of doing something so massive last year was because, I come from a hip hop background. So I was a hip hop artist for about 11 years of my life, performing, opening up for major artists, T.I., Snoop Dogg, Keisha Cole, Common, Bone Thugs and Harmony. List goes on and on. I was doing hundreds of shows a year. And so, but I was also the promoter. I was the event planner. I was bringing out everybody there, booking the shows. So I already had done so many events all my life. So like just taking it up a notch was not a scary thing. But I would say that the support, when you take it up to that level, you have to hit on the support, because the price tag is higher.
Right.
Everything is, the risk is a lot higher. So everything has to hit. And I think we proved it last year. And then this year, now we're just going to just further cement in the ground, like this is here to stay. We just need people to come out and support.
That's awesome. So in your ideal world, how many people would be there this summer?
Our anticipated attendance, 1,000.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how does that compare to where you were at your first time?
First time was 400. So if everybody brings a friend, it's 800, a couple new people. 1,000's not out of reach. It really isn't. And we lowered the ticket price by over 75%. So there's no excuse. Before it was like $199 starting, and now it's $50 to go. I mean, there's no excuse.
And so you're bringing an event to Milwaukee that is for business owners?
Yeah. So for growing professionals, so people that want to grow their career, so leaders or managers of people and entrepreneurs. And we're really starting to partner with a lot of schools to be able to get students to go there to learn, educate, but also to inform them about job opportunities that are going to be happening. So we have a career fair that's new this year, just showcasing, hey, here are the companies, here's how to get engaged. And we'll have a room set aside for pre-screening as well, pre-screened interviews, just to, if employers want to just have a quick conversation and say, hey, let's just gauge for 5-10 minutes. And if they want to continue, they schedule them right there on the spot. You're
being a game changer and creating something completely new in an industry that's been like stuffy. 100%. I love it. 100%. You're bringing entertainment to business. Let's do it.
Yeah. That's what I'm all about. That's what I'm all about.
So I want to go back to your book, because tell us a little bit more about the story behind the book and really the mission and why you felt called to write that.
Yeah, for me, I really looked at my life and I was like, okay, how did I get here? Mm-hmm. And it was my ability to constantly change my circle, again and again and again, and meet these new people to give you different opportunities to kind of level up where you want to go in life. And so I wanted to write the book because everybody needs this. I mean, professional or personal. Like, you are always changing your circle. And if you're not, you're going to be stuck and very comfortable in your own spot, or maybe very uncomfortable, depending on where you're at. And you need to know how to do this, because you're going to have to do this in some form or fashion. And the book is all about evaluating your current circle, and then how do you get into new ones. The very first part about it is you have to really unlock your self-awareness. So you have to find out who you are, what you represent, and what your tolerance level is. Set up your own barriers. You have to gain control back of your life. And then you got to look at how you are, your immediate circle, your friends, family, acquaintances, coworkers, the people that you kind of see on a month-to-month basis, and figure out who's adding to your life and who's subtracting to your life. And then you have to say, hey, how do I get into these new circles? How do I get in to meet new people, meet new communities? And this has just been an amazing journey since releasing the book, because a lot of people have came up to me, especially after reading it, and just been like, this is, because I have actionable steps in the book. Mm-hmm. Like, I have literally put in there, like, it's impossible. If you read this whole book, do the action steps, it's impossible. You cannot be in a space where you can't change your life. It's impossible.
So I have a couple of things that I want to pull out of what you said. One of them was, you talked about how in the beginning with awareness really also requires setting up some boundaries. How did you find that out?
I through necessity.
I want to know what it looks like for someone else because I've been there. I'm there.
Like you get to a breaking point. Like that's usually the thing. That's the trigger point where it's like you get to a breaking point. Like I can't do this anymore with
done.
you. I can't do this anymore. I've given my all. This is it. So I had a couple, just either friends, just growing up where it's like, man, I can't give you this much anymore. Like the expectations are here and I'm doing all I can and I never can reach those expectations. So like, I'm tired. I'm tired. So I got to put up some barriers. I got to think about me.
It's
first.
Taking more emotional energy than you're getting. I mean, it's not a two-way relationship.
Yeah. And that emotion, like, I mean, that energy that, I call them vampires. They just drain your energy. Anytime, like you get a text message from them, you just like, you get that energy. Oof. Like it just sucks the life out of you where you're just like, man, how in the world do I deal with this? I got to deal with this guy again. And so
I'm curious.
Yeah.
Did you block anyone in the process?
No, I never really block, because, it's my, I mean, I'd say this in the book that it's up to you how you want to put up your barriers. I don't really block because it's never that serious where like, I got to block you. I'll let you know by my actions,
You're just gonna be straight up clear.
Yeah, that you're blocked. You're blocked here. You're blocked in my mind, like, so if you keep hitting me up, I may mute your messages, or something like that. But to block somebody, it doesn't really bother me that. Yeah.
So first part is awareness, creating these boundaries that are really recognizing who's in your growth list, who's in your maintenance list. Do you ever get any kickback from anyone with the book on like, dude, isn't this a little bit mean? Or, is there anything?
Yeah. I mean, the one person said to me, like, this is a little, like too good to be true. Like there's gotta be a harder way, like this is not really sustainable in a way.
Right.
But, everything, you got to look at your life and say, it's all about the context, the background. I mean, obviously, I'm not in every single person's shoes. There are extremes to every single scenario. Like is somebody in the middle of the desert trying to change their circle and they're lost and they have nobody out there? Yeah, it's going to be a little tougher for you to figure this out. But, as far as it being mean, it's about just putting yourself first and then doing it in the most healthy way possible. So, some people just need to be cut off. Like that's just the way it is. Some people do. But if it's a family member or somebody close to you where it's like maybe they're really reliant on you, and if you cut them off, some dangerous implications can happen with that. Then it's probably not a good idea for you just to be like, man, Tony, I'm done with you. I'm going to cut you off. That's probably not smart. And I say all of this I try to articulate this in the book, but you have to kind of take those steps. But what boundaries can you put in place where you just might not jump to every single interaction? Right. Just say, hey, okay, I'm going to just focus on me first. And then I'm going to, respond back to this. And it's because once you jump, they get that in that routine, that rhythm, and then they know that you're going to jump. So they're always hitting you up and they're always trying to pull you into their mess. And, it's just about putting those boundaries and then you just kind of slowly inch those out and create bigger and bigger boundaries. But, it's just like, quitting something cold turkey. It's some people do it, some people don't. It's not a good decision.
Do you talk about anything about asking others, or like how do you go about then changing your circle?
Yeah, asking others is great. I mean, finding a mentor, finding positive influences in your life and asking them their honest feedback on what's going on is golden. As long as you can just, shut up and listen.
The trick,
the
trick,
secret. Shut up and listen. Like if you really respect this person's opinion, it's not about the competition part about it. It's just about hearing somebody else's, perspective on what you have going on, and then just take that, as you will, and just, what you want to do is you want to be intentional about changing your circle. So, use the internet, what groups, what connections can you make, social media, what, networking groups can you join? What kind of communities can you be a part of? Facebook groups, meetup.com. I mean, there's tons of different outlets out there to figure out, what the circles are, like how to get into those. But then first you have to kind of identify what circles you want to be in. So whatever your passions are, whatever you're trying to get into, if it's entrepreneurship, and if it's, I want to be a better volleyball player. I just want positive influences in my life. Hey, you may hire a coach. You may hire, you may just start to go to events, where there's positivity brewing and you're just sitting there by yourself, but you're around the energy. There's so many different ways to start just taking a step forward. And that's really all I want people to do, is start taking that step forward and be intentional about it, and then promote that you're doing it. So once you're out there doing it, put it on social media and say, hey, I'm doing this, because then people are going to correlate you with the thing that you're doing. And then you'll be shocked with people like, hey, man, I saw you at this thing. I didn't know you were a part of that. So let me, come on by with me to the next thing. And next thing you know, opportunities start showing up for you.
I love it. It makes me think about when my husband and I had rentals. And as I said, but when we first started, before we even were really into it, we joined a rental association, and then it normalized the conversation. So the things that we thought were crazy, difficult, couldn't figure out, this is normal conversation in their world. Normalize it. Yeah. And then inner deals are happening, if we want to sell them, we sell to the people in the community. If we want to buy, we buy from the people in the community. I mean, it's just a circle.
I love the normalize. I may take that. Normalize the idea. I love that, because within business, like that's, you finally sell something that's $1,000 and you're like, oh my God, it's your first one. You're like, oh my God. And then I'll say like, man, I would dream to hit like 10K in 1 month. Like that just be a dream. Then you hit it and then you're like, oh my God, like 50 or 100, like you keep pushing it. But if you're around the people that are doing it already, it becomes normal.
Yes.
And so it becomes more obtainable. It becomes more real. It becomes, because you're feeling, like, hey, this is possible. And then your brain and all your actions start to change towards those goals. So I love the normalizing the idea. I love that.
Thank you. I mean, I grew up in this real estate world. And so then I go to the rental association, it's totally normalized. And it wasn't until I took a step back and said, who am I completely, that I realized I have no interest in being a landlord. It was so normal in my world that I didn't know I didn't even want to be one. It was like, we got this, and then I'm like, wait, why am I a landlord?
That's funny. That's funny. It's such a good lesson though, because everything might not be for you, but you took a shot, you tried and you learned from it, and then you pivoted. So it's good. There's not a one way path in life. You're going to be thrown around all different things, and it's just about how you adapt and then what you're passionate about.
What I would love for you to share with the audience is the story for when you were getting out on stages and something about a lot of doors. I don't remember the specifics, but you did not give up. I want to hear more. I want to hear it again.
So are you talking about with me booking shows?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, oh my God. I mean, I was making hundreds of phone calls. So I used to also work in IT, and I was 8 years in IT, and I worked my way from a technician to an IT manager through the 8 years. But every single time at lunch, I would go out and lunch, and I would have a hit list pre-planned the day before, and I would just call. I would just call these venues, call these schools, call these, like all these places. And it was just, I guess, got so many no's, like gatekeepers, no's, let me call you back, call us back in 6 months, like just stupid stuff. I'm just like, 6 months, 6 months. And I actually would write it down. Okay, call us place back 6 months, keep it moving. But the goal was how many people could I get through before I had to go back to work. To work.
I love it.
And what was crazy is what changed everything for me is that I was doing that constantly. And then once I started to think about how I was actually getting in front of an audience and not making it all about me, that's when everything changed. So once I had my music really connected to a cause. So I connected to the American Cancer Society and then did 50% of the proceeds to cancer research. And that was a big thing for me because then I was reaching out to schools, talking to the activities, director or president of the people that had an area about, cancer. They were called Relay for Life at these universities. And then they were ecstatic to talk to me because they're like, oh, you're going to help promote and push and be entertainment for our event. Like this, no one ever calls here. This is great. They're like, this is fantastic. And it was a whole different experience than getting the phone slammed in your face again and again, and maybe getting a couple of like inches every once in a while and maybe landing a gig. So that really helped change everything because once I got that first school and was able to perform, by the way, they paid for travel. Right. The whole thing was totally.
You were like, wait, what?
Yeah. I'm like, this is great. And they and the audience was right there. I was at the time I was really focused on students because at that time college kids are the most susceptible to new things and they're able to take in new music. A lot of the old heads, they're not going to really change because they're like, I'm even kind of getting like that now. I'm like, dude, this new music, man. I'm back in the day, man. Come on, play some Usher, play some, like I'm starting to feel that way now. But at the time I was like, I got to get to a place where people can understand that, hey, this is new music and I'm going to take this in and this is cool. I want to learn more. But I started to just get momentum with that. And I started performing all over the place because then every time I would book a university, I would then book another like venue place that I would be calling up all the time and getting hung up on. I would call those places because I had a reason now. Because I'm like, oh, I'm only in town for a night. I'm performing at this college. I can bring like 30 people to your establishment if you want me to. And I charge X. And next thing you know, people are like, oh, really? Okay. You create leverage, you create value, and it's not just about yourself. You're adding value to that establishment now. And then it all just started to click. And I just started to do just at least over 100 shows a year.
That's amazing. I love the story. And what in the beginning made it so that you wanted to sit in your car and dial on your lunch hour kind of a thing? Like what made that even worth considering?
I just have that determination, just like the hustle factor. I've always been like that. Once I get my brain set on something, it's hard to pull me off of it. It's been my most gift and curse, I would say, especially within a team now. Like, I got employees, we got a team, and it's so sometimes I'll be so on something and I got to hear different perspectives and ideas, and then they want to change it, and I'm like, but I want it this way. But I want it this way, though. Don't take this from me. I remember it's actually Nicole. I've never told this story, but Nicole, that's on our team, so at first the conference was supposed to be called Market Like an Entertainer Conference. That's what it was supposed to be called. And I was so on it. I was like, dude. And then one day she pulled me in and she was like, I got an idea to change the name. And I'm like, no, don't do this to me. Don't do this to me. Like, I'm so on this name. I made graphics. I'm so pumped on it. And she's like, what about and she had all these different variations of lead the movement. And she's like, what this is a movement where you're leading change, you're innovative, she just had all these reasons. And I was like, but I've been telling everybody Market Like an Entertainer Conference, blah, blah. And long story short, she sold me on it. It didn't happen immediately. I kind of was like, all right, fine, change it. Let's go. But after a while, as I started to explain it, I'm like, yeah, this totally makes sense. So I've always just had that grit and I know that's what you got to do to get to the next level. You have to be able to take 1,000 no's to get to that one yes. Mm-hmm.
I love, first of all, that you did listen to her, even though, because I do like I do like the lead the move, like the movement. There's some momentum there, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
and it's something a person can be a part of, feel like belonging.
yes,
But I know how hard it is to give up on an idea. I mean, I go back to my team and sometimes they want to tell me no. And I told them the answer is not no. I mean, like,
yeah, yeah,
you gotta give me a, it's yes, but, or something. Like, don't
right,
just tell me straight up no when I have an idea. And they've
yes,
learned to, there's different, layers to the no, where it's more
100%.
like, let's see if this comes up again maybe in another week or so, because I have so many ideas. If we followed all of them, we'd be chasing, yeah, right, like
Be crazy.
yeah. And what I've also found is that sometimes visionaries of a company, like you're so in your hustle, but sometimes when the visionaries actually step out, it allows the team a chance to breathe. Things still
Yeah.
happen. The momentum doesn't stop. In
Hmm.
fact, everything seems to work better because we're not distracting all the time. Do you find
Yeah.
any of that to be true for you?
Yes. Yes. And I'm honestly, in all transparency, I'm still trying to learn
Mm-hmm.
that, just that skill set, of,
Well, because it didn't serve you before to have it. If you would have
yeah,
had that before,
right.
and now you're in this space where you need to give your team space. And you're
Right.
like, what do you mean? I mean, the
Yeah.
business has always needed me.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm to a point now where I cannot be everywhere. So
Right.
I'm having to build that trust and delegate and make sure that things are done. And actually my thing now this year, if I made this new promise to myself that if I say yes to anything, I can't be the one to do it.
Wow.
So basically,
That's solid.
somebody else has to execute it. I can't start it. I can't get involved. I can't I can maybe like just say, "Hey, here's what I want to do," but it's somebody else has to do it. It forces somebody to take themselves away from the business a little bit and build that infrastructure. And so that's what I'm been really focused on.
Wow, that's huge.
It's hard though. I mean, I have messed up. So I've been like, oh, let me just a little bit here. It won't take me long. It won't take me long. I'll do it real quick. But it forces an entrepreneur to think more like an actual business owner,
Correct. Yeah.
than doing everything themselves.
And the way that you kind of said that was like, if you say yes to anything, but really what I'm hearing in that is you're going to go back to the team and say, is this something we can take on?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to ask. And if they say, yeah, like let's do it. And if you don't have it in place, then you have to kind of create it, and put it in place or find somebody to do it. Otherwise you need to say no.
Yeah. And I want to talk about that just even a little bit, because what I've found in the past is from an outside perspective, or even from maybe an owner perspective that hasn't really embraced this shift, the initial reaction could be, if I take it back to the team, they're going to say no. They're going to say we're busy. They're going to
Of
say,
course.
no, whatever. They're going to say no. And then my yes, doesn't even exist. It's like it doesn't even happen. But what I found is that the team that we've created around us, they totally see us as the visionary. They see our gifts and strengths. They love what we're doing. They love what we're creating. They're all in on the mission and vision of the company.
Mm-hmm.
And they often do say yes. And they
Yeah.
often do say, you know what? How are we going to make this happen?
Yeah, they often do. I mean, more times than not, they do. It always takes a second, though, for them to fully get on board.
We got to give them that space. You got to give them the idea and then take a vacation.
Yeah. And it's like, but I also move so the hard part about that is I move very fast, like we're a very nimble, flexible, I would say, company. And so, because we're just juggling a lot of things, but the speed is like on how we win. And so sometimes we don't have the luxury of taking, a vacation and coming back and thinking about something for that long.
Right.
It's kind of like, hey, take a day, think about it. Can we do it? Yes, no. But usually I got to do a little bit of, kind of selling it to them.
You got to sell it. I love it. If you lost the sale part, though, I mean, then it'd be like too easy.
Yeah.
No challenge.
Yeah. Exactly.
So what are some of the things that you're most excited about in this next year that your team is supporting you in?
I mean, the conference, of course. I would not be able to do that thing without a team. The other thing is, no matter how I pivot the company, because I still feel like we haven't super hit our stride yet.
Mm-hmm.
And I say that because I do feel like we've taken leaps, but
You've made momentum. You've had some
yeah,
momentum.
I just feel like we haven't hit the vein yet of like where it's just rocketing. They've always been willing to adjust and pivot as I go through these things, especially with COVID and all that other, like all that stuff.
Wow.
Like
Yeah.
you have to change the model, and they've been willing to do it. And not a lot of places have teams that are willing to change and adapt and grow with you.
How
Yeah.
much do you think that that's like certain industries, maybe manufacturing or whatever, but honestly, I mean, you used to be in IT.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it matters. I don't want to give numbers or percentages, but I think the biggest thing right now is having a team that's nimble and agile because technology is coming out faster than we can learn it. I can't create a training program or an SOP or a manual
Yeah.
and it doesn't already need to be changed.
Seriously.
Like we
Seriously.
need people that can think.
Yeah, seriously. And actually, you nailed it on the head. That is actually where the world is going. So, and this is actually a very deep conversation.
I love it. I love it.
This is very deep because what's happening now is that, traditionally through hard labor and hard work, things have gotten done. And we trust in that education of the knowledge to do those things, especially with technology and AI and things like that are happening now. And we're only at the start.
Beginning.
5-10 years now. I mean, literally, I'm a big comic book fan, but like we are literally going to have the Jarvis, like Iron Man. I mean, it's not even going to be a thing. I could literally say, hey, can you build me a business plan before I get home? I'll be there in 10 minutes. That business plan will be already written, at least a starting point. Is it going to be 100% polished and everything else? No.
No, but the rough draft is pretty solid.
I'm a
Chat GPT junkie, and like I used to love Zillow, but no.
Yeah, I mean, seriously, it's a game changer when you normally would have to have that kind of stuff. You have to hire somebody. They have to have a certain type of skill level. It costs X amount. So when you're talking about, you have to have people that think. They have to be, now people need to really hone in on adding that value of critical thinking, problem solving. How do you innovate? How do you grow something with more of this, like your thought? Like, how are you taking all these pieces and putting that puzzle together and then also rearranging it when you need to? So it's just so important now because there's a lot of people that are going to be left behind, unfortunately, because they're going to have to change this. Just like when, cars came out. You can think about technology as it grows. There are people that had full careers. They had full, lives because, farming was everything. And then it started to change. And so this AI stuff is going to be crazy, just like when the internet came out. I mean, it's the same thing, but it probably like 10 times more impact of what's going to happen. I'm actually incredibly excited to see what happens.
I am too. So I'm going to be straight up transparent. The original name for this podcast was probably going to be what I wanted it to be, was No Degree, No Problem. And we changed it to The Business Is You, which was more in alignment. I wanted it to be more positive. But I really do believe that there is this huge disservice being done in the education system compared to what business owners are needing when they're trying to hire employees. And it's like we have to retrain and help them understand their character and who they are at such high levels. It was frustrating.
Yes, unbelievably flawed right now. And the internet and AI and all this stuff, like it's only putting so much pressure on the traditional education system. But I would say that there are other education platforms that are growing because of the traditional education system being so stagnant and slow, and they're not teaching the right things. But now, like seriously, for a lot of different things, you don't have to go to a traditional 4-year college or even technical when you got YouTube.
It's a real thing.
And then if you want to take it a step further than YouTube and just pay for a course or a class that's like,
someone else
500
taught.
or $1,000 that's got it all laid out in video format, and it's exciting and it's engaging, and you're actually hooked on the content. There's workbooks, worksheets, all that stuff, and it's 99% less than going to a traditional college. I mean, it's really putting pressure on what's going to happen. And the other side is like you talked about, the employers, because yes, like, I mean, we've hired people where, like, they have full 4-year degrees coming out of college, and they don't even know how to hold a camera. Yeah. Like, I'm not kidding. I'm like, they don't know.
I wish you were. I used to hire 4-year degree people so that the other people in the office would gain confidence. We would do it just as summer interns, because then everybody else in the office was like, wait, I'm training you on this, and you literally are coming in with no experience or no even ability to think. That was the problem, is they wanted us to train them at the level that we don't have training systems built out for.
Right. Especially, I mean, it's tough. It's tough. It's really tough. And I do hope that this puts the right amount of pressure on the school system to adapt and change, and for people, like for employers to have better success, but also for the employees. I mean, it's just giving them a better chance and setting them up for success. And I don't think a lot of the systems are designed to set them up for true success, especially after they graduate.
We found, at least for me again, that there was a lot of anxiety, fear, overwhelm, doubt. How much are you running into that?
A lot. I mean, it's scary, but if you put that trust in yourself, and that's why it kind of always goes back to unlocking your self-awareness. Once you do that and you understand yourself, and I understand you're probably not going to understand that until after 25 years old, unless you're super lucky. I mean, there's even 50, 60-year-olds that still haven't understand who they are. But it's once you know who you are and your confidence and breaking through fear, wider perspective, like, and having that right work ethic, you can really get pretty far. In a lot of different positions. But it's just about doing that. And I wish the school system helped people unlock that faster. That's what I hope that they would do. The education's great, to learn certain things, but it's about like you said, the character building. It's about who they are and what are you giving to the organization, to the world, to society. What are you giving? You can't just be like, well, look at me, just give me this for free. It's like, you got to work.
What you said about the different ages, I do some values cards work and like helping people understand what are their core values. And the younger people are, the faster they can find their cards and they just know this is who I am. If they've never done it before, it doesn't matter. The older people are, the more that they feel like they've failed. They literally will say, I think I'm failing. They're like, this is you. First of all, you can't fail. Like, this is not a pass or fail course.
Right.
This is just us uncovering what your core values are. But the words that come out of their mouth hurt because they just they're not sure who they are. They're not sure what their values are, and they think they failed.
Because they're just discovering this stuff. They never asked themselves those questions. That's why.
And it didn't matter maybe in the previous industries, and how things were. But today it's just, I really believe that what you're saying. So I'm guessing that all of your employees have to read your book.
Yeah. I mean, it's, we do give the book. I also really, promote taking the DISC assessment.
Yes.
Or Myers-Briggs, or, one of those. I know I took a certification for DISC, and when I discovered DISC, that it changed my life, to be honest.
Mine too.
I was like, wow, I actually know how to articulate this and communicate with, with others. And I know how I am. So it just helped me understand. So like everybody I talked to, I kind of like slowly put them in the box. I'm like,
people know I get roasted all the time. It's like, oh wait, personality assessment. I think I know which one you are. I know you're an I. I don't have to ask. I'm a DI just to help you get there faster.
A DI?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm actually a high D, low I.
Okay, then we're the same.
Yeah. I'm a high D, low I, and I'm naturally actually introverted.
That's
I just
very interesting.
I know how.
So what's your Myers-Briggs?
what was it? I actually haven't taken
Are you
that
an
one note.
INFJ?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yes. I have to take that over again though, because I do feel like over time, it's good
There
to
are
take a
things that
retest.
shift or can shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, like I found I'm an ENTJ and I found that my lockdown mode is slightly different. Like, if I'm not in a good place, it might look different. But those things are beautiful. They've changed my life, knowing how to communicate with others and how others want to be communicated to. So technically, as a high D, our gift is to empower others.
Yeah.
And I used to identify as an enabler. Actually, no, I didn't identify as an enabler. I identified as a problem solver, AKA enabler.
Yeah.
Right?
Enabler.
Yeah. And so how can I, as a high D, step into my gift, which is empowering others? Well, I can't be operating out of fear. If I'm operating out of fear, then I'm going to be angry. I'm afraid I'm not getting results, and I'm just going to be like, move over.
Yeah. Move over. Yeah. Let me take over. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. It's very eye opening. Very eye opening, and I think the empowering others is what. Yeah, and that's kind of what I'm juggling right now is the empowering others, which I love to do, but then sometimes I'm just like, all right, let me just
move
do
over.
it.
I know.
And
I know.
It's tough. I mean, I feel like I do feel like a lot of business owners have that issue though, as they're growing and scaling their company, because when you're right around that, what is it? From one person to I think it's like 20 or 30 people, that's when it's like the hardest to just like slowly like remove yourself and just have this thing like moving like a machine. It's tough. Yeah.
It's totally tough, and space and grace for it when you're in it and in the middle of it. And major kudos to you. So I've been hiring people since I was 18, and I've been working in industries where I wasn't able to be the technician. I wasn't the technician. I had a very different starting point because my parents had been in family business. And so they had one of those ideas. It was like a yes moment for the business owner where he was like, yes, let's do this. And, asked me, hey, do you want to be the one to run it? And I said yes, even though it's not actually my gift and strength. And so I ended up having to hire people right away. So I've had a very different entrepreneurial journey in that way, that it's been rare that I'm the technician having to take myself out.
Wow. So you had so you're saying your first opportunity, you had to hire people?
Because it was a furniture. I don't think my parents wanted me to hire someone. I think they wanted me to do it myself. But the problem is they started a design firm and I don't know interior design. So it was a little bit of an issue. Like I was more of an accountant bookkeeper. I didn't have, sales background and furniture retail design. Yeah.
That's crazy. Cause like, yeah, that's super hard. I mean, you necessarily don't have to know, but just hiring people is actually extremely difficult when you're. So how old were you?
So I was 18,
oh
and
my God.
I know. And the thing is I thought that since I was a nice person and that I was doing a good job and she was doing a good job, we could work well together. But this is where, like, for the first couple of years, we really did. And then when she wasn't there and I had to hire again, that's when I fell flat on my face. The first marriage, you could say, the first partnership was so good that I didn't know, I hadn't developed the leadership skills that I needed. I didn't.
What it was like with somebody else that,
Yeah. So I got the College of Hard Knocks, but it was after having this amazing experience and then not being able to figure out what I did wrong because I had never developed as a leader. Oh, blah.
Yeah. Wow. That's incredible.
I really do want to hold space for those that are navigating from a job that not a job that's a job, a job as an entrepreneur. Right? When you're the person doing the day in and day out, and then you go to a business where you have to create systems and then you have to take yourself out.
Yeah.
That is a huge, like a real struggle.
Yeah. It's tough, but I'm starting to see some, it's rewarding when it does happen and when it's clicking. And that for me that's when I know it's working and it's going in a positive direction. There's still a lot to do, but also it forces me too as an entrepreneur is another thing that I'm focusing on. So who knows, maybe if somebody listens to this, 3 years from now, where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
But, it forces me to really hone in on our focus of what I actually want to be doing, because I've learned that I can do a lot of things. I can spin up a lot of things. I'm a creator. I can spin this stuff up. The problem is, like, you got to have somebody take care of your babies. If you keep making babies and put them out there, you got to have somebody take care of your babies. Like what's the
totally true. Oh man,
who are the adults taking care of the babies? So that's basically what's happening now. Is I've created all these things, and we still don't have a truly enough staff to take care of each area of business in the way that I would like it to be, which then forces me to say, okay, what do we need to cut then? Unfortunately, maybe we should press pause on this.
Yeah.
Like, hey, good idea. Just timing's not right.
Yeah.
So it hurts me because I'm attached to it. I don't want to my baby. No.
I'm here with you. We had in family business, my dad was a serial entrepreneur. So the furniture store was not the best investment. And it was the baby that should have gone out right away and didn't. So I mean, think about it. And he didn't just pick industries that were all in the same lane, but in marketing, in any business, under these umbrellas, we can create multiple lanes of income, multiple lanes of businesses. And if we're visionaries and creators, it's easy. We're starters. Like, bring it on. So let's start something new. And so it's really, I mean, you're talking about some growth opportunities and some growth opportunities for yourself. And as entrepreneurs, often we learn to step into those. And so, I'm excited to see where you are 3 years from now and what you've been able to say no to.
I'm like, man, I need to say no more. And I need to hone in on the focus until I build it up to a certain point where, I can add on, those things. But it's just about being in that creative genius and just being in that lane and just driving it all the way home, because then you can duplicate it. It's scalable.
Exactly.
It's not scalable when you're so spread thin. That's when it's a little tough.
I love the conversation. Thank you so much for being vulnerable. And the question that I love to ask is there anything else that you feel has been left unsaid or that you'd love to express?
Yeah, I mean, at least what's on my mind right now is that, you gotta, if you're an entrepreneur and you're running a company or you're a leader of people, just give yourself a little bit of grace, I would say. Especially an entrepreneur, and there's a lot of leaders, you're always supposed to have the answers for everything. And it just weighs on you. It weighs it's like heavy weights. And it's something that you do have to take a step back and just, breathe and just give yourself a little bit of grace and be like, look, you're doing the best job that you possibly can with the knowledge and resources and time that you have. So if you're listening to this, just give yourself a little bit of grace, take that step back, because it's tough. It's tough to lead. It's tough to lead and to be looked at as like, you should know the answers, Jamar. It's like, I'm also still figuring it out.
I used to look at my dad I used to look at my dad and be like, well, you've had, 20 more years in business before I got here, and he would just be like, I don't know the answer to this. And I was always annoyed. Like he was, hiding something from me. But I think the important lesson that I've learned, because for years I was more of the implementer, because I had those opportunities in a different way. He was more the visionary and the investor in the concepts. And so now being the visionary for myself, I am so frustrated how often I lose the vision and lose the clarity. And as an implementer, I didn't have the up and down that I do as the visionary, because it was like, you give me one nugget, like you're giving your team one nugget, they get the vision and they're on it like a dog with a bone.
And they're there. Yeah.
And I'm the one that's still confused. Where are we going?
Yeah.
Why am I the one that's confused and my team knows where we're going?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a real thing. Yeah, but it's all part of growth. It's all
Yeah.
part of growth
Yeah.
and learning. But yeah, that would be the last thing that
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I've enjoyed our conversation. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thank you.